Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Winning with Jed. I have with me today Keegan Hall, world-renowned artist. Just super excited to have you, Keegan. How are you doing today, man?
I'm awesome, man. I'm excited to join you here. I've known you for so many years. It's great to kind of come full circle and see you doing so well and share some stories. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, and I guess a little bit of background. You're located in the Seattle area, right? Because everything around Seattle, people just call it Seattle.
Yeah, close enough. We're just across the bridge, across the water there. But yeah, right in Seattle, Seattle proper ish.
And we met, gosh, probably about 15 years ago, 18 years ago, something like that. It's been a little
Yeah,
while,
crazy, right?
but it was a whole different life. And you've since become a really big deal in the world. But I don't want to spoil all of that. Not that you weren't a big deal before. You've always been a big deal. People have identified it even more so recently. Can you tell all of the viewers, what it is that you do and who you are?
Yeah, I mean, back when we first met, I was in the startup world, right? So I had gone back to school. I used to work for the Seattle Sonics. They left. Of course, they moved to Oklahoma City. And that time I
Still
decided to
mad
go
about
back to,
that, by the way.
I know, right? It still hurts a little bit. Um, but went back to grad school, got my master's in business, and joined a startup. And I think that's when you and I met is during that whole transition and with that new company and kind of building that out, which was that's a whole life of its own, just the startup world and all the lessons you learn from that environment. So that was
Which
just a really cool experience.
I think that gives you a good depth though, right? It's not just that you've done the same thing. You've been involved in a lot of different things, and I hope all of the viewers are watching that and listening to that because some of the stuff you're going to go over today is pretty exciting. What are you doing today?
Yeah,
What's your main
so
gig?
so fast forward to now.
I see all these comics behind you. I see all this stuff. Like, sorry,
Yeah,
tell
these
us.
these this is my roots back here. I mean, as a kid, I grew up drawing from comic books. I never really read them too much. I would just draw from the pages to practice. Um, so I guess that's a little teaser into now. Yeah, I'm doing art full time. So just really detailed pencil drawings. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of really cool people, raise a lot of money for charity, and that's kind of the really, really short version of what has been happening over these past several years.
I love that you're being bashful a little bit. Okay, so these little drawings, you make it sound like they're these little tiny things. Okay, do you have something you can show somebody, like a drawing that you've done? Do you have something you
Um,
can pick up that you're
I
working on right now?
I
So
have some right around the corner. If I have any, I don't think I have any right.
okay,
Well, I mean, this
what's
is not really a official drawing per se, but I did a project for Topps recently, right? Topps baseball cards.
yeah?
So I have my own cards through Top. So this is my Shohei Ohtani card. Probably
And
not
this
very
is
good
a
lighting.
drawing. This is not a picture.
Yeah, this is just done with a pencil.
So I just want everybody to take notice. This is the quality of work.
Yeah,
And you
so I
say he's
did.
like, I've worked with some cool people. This is an understatement.
Let me see what
Okay.
all I got in here.
Well,
I
give
did
a
a whole
couple of
set.
give
I
a
did
couple
10 different players, um, four tops. So like here's my Julio card I did. Probably not
okay.
very good lighting, the glare and whatnot.
Yeah, I really like the fork there. That's really cool.
Yeah, a little celebration, trident celebration when they hit a
The
home run.
trident.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, 10 different players, four cards of each guy. So you've probably seen on social media whenever I do a drawing, I post updates as I progress through the artwork. So people get to see it come together, start to finish, kind of a cool experience for people to kind of see the artwork grow. And that's what we used for the inspiration for the cards. So Julio Rodriguez, for example, his four cards are about the first one's about 25% complete. Second one's about 50%, and then 75% for number three. And then the last card is the final drawings. You get to so collect all four, right? You get to see the whole drawing start to finish come together.
Did Topps reach out to you? They're like, "Hey Keegan, like can you do this for us?"
It's actually kind of a crazy story how all that happened, and I hate like name dropping and all that, so I'll try to be brief with that. So back up like several years ago before Topps got acquired by Fanatics.
Oh,
Um,
okay, I wasn't aware of that.
yeah, so Fanatics is the biggest in the business. So when before they were acquired, I was talking to Topps about doing my own separate set of cards. Um, and then I think that got caught up in the midst of that acquisition, and that kind of got put on hold. And then I've been trying to re-engage them after the acquisition. I think some of the people were not there anymore, so it was like, crap, who do I need to talk to?
Starting all
And
over.
about this time, I connected with Kevin Durant's agent, Rich Kleiman, and he and I had a call and we talked about kind of the art industry and where do I see it going and what are kind of some of my dream projects. And I had mentioned Fanatics and Tops are the biggest in the business, and I think they would be a great partner. And he said, "Hey, let me make an intro for you." And he connected me to some of their top folks, which are a little bit too high probably for what I needed to do. They connected me down a
The,
little bit lower, and we got the ball rolling.
no pun intended, the top people at Topps.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I mean, they were like the people that I initially had calls with. They were like some of literally the top people at this huge company of Fanatics, and they're like, "Yeah, we're probably a little bit. You probably need to talk to people that are a little bit more hands-on to that specific product line." I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." So, but it all came together.
so I mean, you've got these cards coming out, or are they out already?
Yeah, they actually just came out about a month ago.
Okay.
What's really cool is like I grew up collecting cards and going to stores and like buying packs and trying to chase your favorite. So you can go and buy Topps baseball cards right now in the store and try to find one of my cards. And I've actually bought 4 boxes myself, and I didn't get any of my own cards, so they're super hard to get. So that was, but yeah, Topps Update. So the 2025 Topps Update series is the one that they're in.
Okay, I'm gonna buy a pack just to see if I can actually get something. If I get something, I'm gonna take a picture of it. I'm gonna make you sign it. They did give you a couple of the ones you drew, didn't
Yeah,
they?
I got my own set, thankfully, because
Okay.
they're so hard to get. So I would have been like devastated if I had to chase all my own cards.
Okay, congratulations on that. I love though. Okay, I mean, and not trying to name drop, but like some of the people, like you've done a lot of interesting work, right? And I personally have seen if people want to take a look at what you're doing or what you have done, the best place is probably Instagram.
Yeah, my website obviously has everything, um, ordered nicely on there, all the different projects. But yeah, if you just want a little snapshot of recent stuff, would be yeah, Instagram.
Instagram or and what's your website?
Just my name, KeeganHall.com.
KeeganHall.com. Make sure you go there. Check it out. This guy's got some amazing stuff. Okay. Favorite person to have worked with that you did a drawing with? And I know that's hard because you work with a lot of amazing people. This isn't putting anyone else down. Just off the top of your head, somebody you really enjoyed working with.
Yeah, that's so hard to pick because I have different favorites for different reasons. Um, so I'll just give a couple of names really quickly. Growing up, I just loved Pearl Jam, the Seattle grunge scene, all that stuff.
Yep.
I grew up on Pearl Jam. So being able to work with Eddie Vedder was just awesome, awesome. And, when we were shooting all the content for the project, we were at his house just hanging out for hours. It was just absurd. So that was pretty special. Kelly Slater, pro surfer. Again, we connected at his house in Florida, hung out like all day there. Just one of the coolest guys. You could talk about any topic, and he's got some exposure to it. Like super good golfer. Obviously, he knows how to surf a little bit.
Just a little.
Really, really nice guy. And then, of course, my kind of holy grail of sports in general was, being able to do some stuff for Michael Jordan. Right. That's kind of I can't really go any further beyond that. But just having him, reach out to me, saying he wanted me to do a piece for him, and then flew my whole family out to his golf course. And so spending some time with MJ at his course, it was just yeah, kind of an unforgettable experience to say the least.
This has opened a lot of doors for you, is what it appears to me. What do you think? Like following your passion, right? Because we just talked through the fact that you started in the startup world. You didn't go to school for art, right? Like you went to get a business degree. And I'm not saying you didn't do any schooling on art, but like you got a master's in business, right?
Mhm.
And then you switched to art. Like, didn't somebody say like, "Are you nuts?" Did somebody say anything like that? Or did you think that to yourself?
I heard that you're nuts a few times in opposite directions, ironically. So when I went to undergrad at the University of Washington for art, right, and I wanted to be an artist, and I heard you're nuts then for wanting to be an artist, right? So then I listened to them, and that's when I went to work for the Sonics, right? And then kind of all these years later in the startup world, as you probably know, what got me back into art was the unexpected passing of my mom, right? And that was kind of the catalyst that kind of shocked me to my core and made me really reassess my life's direction. And I just art, I hadn't drawn anything in almost 10 years. And I just sat down to do a drawing, and that kind of got the ball rolling. And I think things quickly ramped up from that very first post of my very first drawing back to, and then over the next several months to a year, I was like, eventually I got to the point where I'm going to go for this thing full time. And then you hear that all over you. Are you crazy? You're nuts. You're going to try to do art full time. And so yeah, it's nothing new, but I think if you're having my exposure to the startup world and kind of that risk environment, prepared me for it. And then ultimately you just kind of got to bet on yourself and feel confident that you know what you're doing. And a lot of that, the things I learned from the startup world, um, very much translated into this side in terms of the art business. So it's been very beneficial to have kind of a couple different skill sets to utilize as I navigate this new space.
I love that. I love that you're I'm gonna say a double threat, but more than that, right? You're not just an artist. And I think a lot of people get the starving artist, right? You're definitely not starving. You've been able to make something really successful. And I think having that business background appears to me to have been really, really helpful. And that's what I kind of took from what you were saying. Um, So I had this one saying, which is if you want to get bad advice, listen to everyone, and you will for sure get bad advice. Do you feel like that resonates with you on the whole journey of getting into going? I'm going to say going after your passion. You can correct me, but I think I see you just light up when you're talking about these drawings and the things you're doing. And you got me excited. I'm going to go buy some baseball cards now, and I haven't bought any in a long time. So
Yeah, it's actually really hard to get advice in this particular space too, because art is kind of an anomaly when it comes to traditional business mechanics. So there's nobody that can really give you advice in that sense because art largely is subjective, right? You can go to a museum, right, and see some scribbles on a canvas, and it could be sold for millions of dollars, right?
a
Um,
banana taped to the wall.
exactly. That's a perfect example, right? So there's no really rhyme or reason to say like, oh, well, you build a product over time, it improves, you slowly build your market share. All the traditional business metrics don't really translate well. So yeah, that's been tough because whenever I talk to my business-minded people, it's like, how do you scale this? How do you do more faster? And essentially, that's just not possible when you're the one making the artwork. And the style of art that I do is just it's so detailed. There's just not any shortcuts really. It's just a slow, deliberate process that takes weeks, if not many months, to produce a single piece. So I am my own bottleneck, and that's just kind of the way it is. So you have to get creative in other areas to grow the business. So yeah, I think a lot of the advice that I am given, I have to kind of then put the art hat on and see if it's business advice, I got to put the art hat on and see how that translates. And if it's art related advice, I have to put my business hat on and see how that would translate the other direction. But being able to kind of, I guess, juggle both sides of it has been helpful to navigate.
So let's I think this is a perfect segue into maybe like what was the biggest challenge that you had making that transition, really being successful in this? I would say, you've clearly made some strong connections. You've got your own baseball cards out there from Tops. Like, what's the struggle? What's a struggle that you dealt with or are dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the arts and the entertainment world, just that whole area is just probably the hardest business to be successful in, right? Whether you want to be a musician, a fine artist, an actor, it's like there's just so many people, so much talent, and it's hard to carve out your own place within the world, within that world. So, I think for anybody looking to go into that, the gauntlet that is the arts, you're going to have your work cut out for you. So that by itself is there's no shortage of challenges, but I think standing out is one of them. And having a good, well, I would say first the price of admission is just being really really good at your thing. Like that just kind of goes without saying. If you're really really good, then you might have a chance at making it, right? That's just like the absolute bare minimum is to being amongst the best in your craft. So once you get that to that point, then it's standing out. That's why I think your story becomes so important, particularly in the art world, because that's how people will see something on your paper or canvas and then translate it to the personal side of the artist who actually created it. And for me, my story and my journey from childhood to growing up in a trailer park to the Sonics to grad school to start. I mean, just people have followed that. It can kind of see themselves, I guess, at some part in my journey. And then for me personally, I like to tie it all together with this mindset of giving back. And charity has always been a big part of me in my life, and certainly a big part of my art and its mission. So I think what are we up to? Probably pushing like $850,000 I've donated through my artwork in the past, several years. So I think you really need to figure out where you want to live within this landscape, whatever business you're in, and then how you're going to carve out your niche. So I kind of have found a few different pillars that were very very important to me, and then just kind of try to maximize them the best I could.
So okay, what I'm hearing your challenge was is like, hey, listen, I'm with some of the best in the world. I'm not even some, the best in the world. Okay. And if I want to be successful, I have to be at that level, which I mean, I think people would be hard pressed to say that you're not. Okay. I think you are. And so then it's carving out your niche. Okay. And then it's like, what's also important to you? What I'm hearing you say is like, number one, I have to be the best in the world. Number two, I also have to be passionate about this, and it can't just be one thing, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you've carved out, but also I heard giving back is a really big deal. Dude, look, you gotten $850,000. That is not chump change to charities. So I have to believe that there's been some people that have really benefited. I mean, and like, look, you just said too, this artwork isn't like, quick to do. A minimum of a week. Sometimes you spend months. So, I mean, you're really dedicating a lot of your time to charity if you really did by hour. So, how did you figure out your niche? I mean, I think, and you correct me, but I think yours is really the arts and sports kind of drawings, right? Would you kind of agree with that, or am I off?
No, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the niche was I don't want to say by accident, but it just kind of happened naturally. So when I got back into art, in the beginning, I had no plans of making this a career or a business or anything like that. I was always just a big sports fan and music fan, so I was just drawing things that I enjoyed. And at that time, I still had a full-time job. So I was thinking, oh man, if I could, I didn't need the art as an income because I didn't never really thought it could be one. But I was like, man, if I could use my art to raise money for other people, that would be really, really cool. And the very first one, I reached out to Richard Sherman of the Seahawks, said, hey, I got this idea. I want to do a drawing of you, get 200 prints made, sell them for $200 each, sign and number them, and then donate all the money to charity. So it would be 40 grand, just like that. And yeah, I remember I announced the project on a Monday, and the on sale date was that Friday. And that whole week, it just went bonkers in terms of just getting the word out. It started off with like local news, then like the city of Seattle picked it up, and then it went kind of wider than that to national. And then by the time Friday rolled around, it was like international news. This like artist, because it was really very much tied to my story, my upbringing. Growing up poor, wanting to raise money for kids like me. The Seahawks were basically in the Super Bowls at that time, right? A really, really good team.
And again, they're going to
So,
win the Super Bowl this
like,
year, right?
was that?
And they're going to win the Super Bowl this year too,
I
right?
know we're back to being that really, really good team again. So,
It's
no, it's
been a while,
exciting.
guys. Don't screw this up. If you're a Seahawk, don't screw it up. Win it for
Yeah, they're
us.
looking pretty damn unstoppable, but the Rams
We'll
are always
see.
good.
We
So,
still got two more games.
yeah.
Okay. So you went through all of those challenges. I love the fact too that, and I think this is a key part, and I kind of want to repeat this because I think it's key, is you have to have a good story, right? That people can identify with. Because then it becomes less just a product and more of something that you're a part of, right?
Yeah, people want to be a part of that story. And I can tell you, I've heard it so many times from people like, I mean, my style of art, right, is realistic artwork, right? So it's often mistaken for a photograph if you have no context to what you're looking at. Like I've seen stuff, installed in restaurants or bars or whatever of my artwork. People just walk by it because they assume it's a photograph. And when they then make that connection that it's a drawing, it's like there's that epiphany, like, oh shit, like this is really cool. And that there's a very fun experience that gets unraveled as they're connecting these dots. And then like, oh, the artists also work with these people. Oh, the artist, he started here, he's in this like, so as the whole thing kind of unravels and draws people in, I think that's where you make fans for hopefully for life. But it's beyond like, oh, that's a really cool drawing or a painting and it ends there. The story behind it becomes so much more compelling and draws people in, and that's how you get from step one to step two to step three, four, five as you're building a business.
Having a strong story. Okay, we're starting to get low on time, so I want to. We've got some other great nuggets that I want to get out of you. Um, Biggest piece of advice that anyone's ever given you, or that you would give to anyone else. It can be business related, it can be personal, it can be whatever it is. But what's the biggest golden nugget that you could give to all of the viewers?
Yeah, I always loved quotes. Like I would always read a bunch of motivational quotes, even in the business. Back in my traditional business days, I would start my day with a quote from somebody. And I remember one that really had a profound impact on my mindset was by Steve Jobs. And I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but it was something along the lines of everything around you was created by a person that's no smarter than you, right? They just thought that was the way to do it. But once you realize that everything around you can be shaped and molded and built into a way that you think is the best, like all the doors become open. So, because I grew up a lot of my life thinking that, you know, everything was very linear. People already thought through all the things. The streets are the way they are, and the roads and the chair is the way it is. And now I like, and part of this was trained through the startup world is, how can that thing be better, or why is the thing the way it is? Oh, it was just someone thought it was the best to make it that way, and that's really the only reason a lot of things are designed the way they are. So I think once I realized that all those things could be changed and bent and molded to the way that I want them, I kind of stripped off all these restrictions that I put upon myself and started like reaching out to crazy people that I thought I could never work with because why not? Like I can kind of mold this environment around me the way I think is best, and things started happening rapidly once I made that mental shift.
That's that's awesome. It sounds like as soon as you that saying is kind of like take the limits off yourself. Realize you have the power to change the things around you. Just because someone made something some way doesn't mean you can't make it better or different and unique. That's pretty
Yeah, I mean
awesome.
that's it, especially in the business world, right? People have always been doing a thing a certain way, and you're like, why are they doing it that way? And a lot of times it's there's no real reason behind it. It's just the way it's
Like,
always been done.
I
Like,
just
I'm
kind of
gonna do
thought that
it
was a good way to
this
do
way,
it.
especially in the art world, man. I can't tell you how many times, it's like you have to go through the galleries to get to be successful. That's just how an artist does it. And I'm like, well, why is that? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think I want to go this other direction, way over here, and see. And I totally went around the traditional art world and kind of carved my own path in a way that I haven't been able to really follow anybody else who's done it this way. But I was just kind of thinking, like, why is it that way, and why is that the only way that an artist could be successful? Because I can kind of see an opportunity over here, and I just freaking went after that over there.
Here's another question for you. Do you feel successful?
I don't know. I feel like success is temporary. I think I feel success after I completed a specific project, and then you start over back to zero. Like I think and I don't know if it's like my upbringing of kind of growing up, poor, but I'm just waiting for it all to go away. Every day I just think it's going to go away. So like every day I have to kind of earn it again. So, you feel that temporary success and then but the next day you start over and you have to earn it all over again. And I think that kind of keeps you hungry, keeps you motivated, keeps you moving forward because as soon as you think that you made it and you're successful, that's kind of when you're toast. And things can evaporate very quickly, particularly in a business like this where you really have to keep pushing, keep finding that next higher rung because it's so competitive. So, yeah, I don't. I think success is temporary, and if you want to make it, if you want to achieve any long-term goal, you kind of have to hit that reset button pretty much daily and stay hungry.
It's a good point. I love it. Stay hungry because it's one of those things where um, success is temporarily gifted to us at times. All right, what keeps you up at night? Is there anything that what's your biggest fear, the thing that you stress out about, or the biggest challenge that you think on a daily basis?
I mean, there's obviously some of the political upheaval that's going on. So, assuming we don't want to go that direction, because that's kind of its own
Business
chaos that's
related,
going on
right?
throughout the world, right?
It's easy to get tangled up in all of the craziness going on around us, but like if we're talking about business and there's somebody on the other end of this and they're like, Keegan seems like a real guy, which by the way, Keegan is just the same Keegan that you on here as he is with anyone, but um somebody's looking to you and they're like, what's this guy struggle with in his business? Like what keeps him up at night? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a little bit from the previous answer, but I think in this competitive landscape, you have to keep moving forward. Like a lot of people think that there's a moment when you make it. Like, oh, you made it, right? Like you work with Michael Jordan, you made it, man. But that doesn't translate for eternity. Like you don't. There's not like you just get royalty checks. That's not a thing, right? So every success is a blip on the radar, and you have to chase the next big one. So Like I've had really good years and really bad years, right? And I thought that as soon as I had a really good year that I made it. And I learned the following year when I didn't have a good year that there just is no guarantees from year to year. So I think that's what constantly keeps me up is I always want to go bigger and better than previous projects, but then you got to go out and find those bigger and better projects. And and because you want to go big, there are more complex conversations. You're talking with either bigger companies that have more stakeholders, and they're harder to pull together all the right pieces to make these projects come to life. So it's very it could be potentially very hit and miss where you have another monster year because all those pieces aligned, or they just all evaporated because for whatever reason you couldn't connect all those dots to make the project come to life. So I think I'm always kind of like, oh shit, like I really hope that I
I hope
could
I'm
connect these
successful
dots
in the
because there's
future.
a lot of sticks in the fire, man. That could be awesome if it works, but and too in real estate, right? I'm sure there's been so many deals where you thought were done deals, and then for whatever reason they just didn't happen, and you're like, what the heck? I thought it was guaranteed. And I've had a lot of those conversations too, where it's like, oh man, I've talked to all these people. We're definitely going to do a project this year, and I'm just going to keep killing it. And then those don't come together, and you're like, what the heck, man? How did this?
What
What
just
happened?
happened? Like somebody
Yeah.
pulled the rug out from underneath me.
So yeah, just being consistent and trying to manage those expectations mentally, of like, okay, well, who am I talking to? What the likelihood of those things coming together? And you just want to make sure that you're continually building and not leaving yourself open to, putting a zero on the scoreboard.
So this is kind of interesting. I wrote the book Shut Up and Win, and part of what I talk about in it was, the highs and lows. I did a great deal. Nobody's calling me back. Oh my gosh, I just did the biggest collaboration in my life. No, nobody wants to collaborate with me. Now they're back. And it's like you got these highs and these lows and all these things. And what keeps you going? Are you just too stubborn to give up? Or do you just see the bigger picture? Do you keep the highs and lows and just try to moderate them? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things, and that's why this particular space is so good for me personally, because I love art, I love creating, I love challenging myself to um, try to create like that quote perfect piece of hyper realistic drawing. So that side of it, I really really enjoy, and I think for most artists they don't enjoy the business side at all,
Hmm.
and I also enjoy that side a lot, right? I love
Is it
the
just a
hunt of
challenge for
trying.
you, almost like a game?
It
Like,
is because you're in sales, and my whole life was in sales. And the funny part was I was just always a really shy and quiet kid. Even really up until my mom passed, I was this pretty quiet, reserved person. I just kind of stuck to myself. And even though I did sales, I did it in my own little way where I wasn't this loud, boisterous like salesman. I would just kind of talk to people and explain things in a very meaningful way on how it would benefit everybody. And they're like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And things would get done that way. And I've kind of taken that approach to art too. But so when I talk to these, other celebrities, other athletes, whoever it is, and say, hey, here's why you should work with me. It's just, and by the end of it, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? It's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
but why don't you give up? Are you too stubborn or are you just too determined?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I'm a Taurus, right? So, I mean, I don't follow any astrology, but I know bulls are supposed to be stubborn. So, that's part of it. I've been told my whole life that you can't do something. So when I hear a no, that just motivates me more to get to a yes. So that's definitely the stubborn side of it. I know the potential that could be in this world that I'm operating in, not only for myself, if I can kind of I can see a path for a really, really robust career, but also there's the charity aspect, right? Like I can see where I can already see the huge benefits that my art has delivered to a lot of people, whether it's directly through raising money for organizations or just people enjoying the art and having them uplifted. Like I've done a lot of art for, maybe parents who lost a child, right? I never really, I don't ever post about those. I just kind of do them quietly and send them off to people. And those people having that, I guess gift or that piece to remember their loved one, right? It's pretty special. So it's like so much bigger than just drawing or art or a job or a career. There is like you're like changing lives
See,
in
here's
a
I
meaningful
want you
way.
guys all to take notice though. I tried to put him in a box there, and you can't put Keegan Hall in a box. He's like, it's a little bit of everything, and here's some other things. Like here's the thing. And I know this, and I'll say this about Keegan. There was even a time where I reached out to him like, "Hey, can you do this project for me?" And he didn't ask for anything. Completely did. I still am affected because I called you up out of the blue. I'm like, "Remember that thing?" And it's just because his heart, like, and that's one of the things that I think that if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I want to pursue my passion, I want to do this, like, have a good heart about it, because I think like what I see with you, Keegan, is your heart comes through on all of these things, on the passion you put into your art, into the passion you go supporting these people. You're doing things on that are um, that go unnoticed because you care. Keegan, it's been great having you on here. Are there any last words of wisdom, any other things that you would like to share, like how people, if they wanted to collaborate with you, could reach out, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, my website would be home base for everything, keeganhall.com. There's a contact form there. People can reach out and see some of the past projects that I've been a part of. Um, yeah, I think like maybe last parting words would be, if there's something you've always wanted to do, you've always had a dream of pursuing a specific career or a specific path, you got to just go for it. I mean, we often make excuses as to why we can't, whether we're stuck in a job we hate, but we can't leave it for all these various reasons. And I think those are just excuses that we tell ourselves to justify, not taking action. And I think once you can kind of get past that and take action, you'll see that some of those goals and ambitions and dreams are much more attainable than you think. And my wife would be a really good example, right? I remember, 10 plus years ago, she was working a job that she hated and, didn't have any schooling done here in the States because she's from Europe. So, and it was like, well, what do you want to do? And she wanted to be a doctor, right? And like, how crazy is that, right? 10 plus years of schooling and, you got to start, that's a long time to go when you're in your 30s already, right? So it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? We just gonna sit and bitch about it, or you're gonna go start today, right? Step one, step two, step three, because 10 years are gonna pass and you're either gonna be a doctor or you're not. So she started and 10 years passed and she became a doctor, right? So I think it can be as easy as that of just getting started. That old cliche of just start, and that time is going to pass, and before you know it, you're going to be that thing that you always wanted to be. So
You
go
got
for it.
one shot at life.
Yep.
Make it worth remembering, right?
Yep.
Keegan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Always love getting to chat with you and catch up. So thank you for watching Winning with Jed. We're gonna have another episode coming out soon, so tune in and leave some great comments. Make sure like, subscribe, be a part of the conversation.